Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Super Bowl podcast, episode number 36. After 5 long months, we're back in the studio here at GCU. We've got a lot to update you on, but again, my name is Braden Norman. Alongside me, David Arnold and Harper Houck, as always. A guys-only episode. As I said, a lot of updates coming your way. We're going to do a little bit of college football playoff talk. Way too early,
Never
as
too
usual.
early.
Never.
And we're going to get into a little bit of scripture as well. So hope you guys can sit back, enjoy this episode. We hope you guys are excited to see us back in the studio because, man, we're pretty thrilled and feel blessed that we have the opportunity to keep this going for this next season of our lives. Guys, any words before we get into our sports segment of the day?
Man, just thankful for everybody who supported us up to this point. It's just been such a blessing to read comments, to see just people react to our content. It's been awesome, and we're just so blessed to have this platform. And I know going into kind of our season 3, we're calling it, I guess. Just we're excited to see what's next. We have a lot of new in our lives, and I'm glad this gets to stick around for at least a little longer. So just appreciate y'all for supporting.
Oh, yeah, and just building off what you're saying there. There's a lot of updates, new things going on in our life, but super blessed that we can call Super Bowl a constant, being able to continue to pour into this. And I don't know about you guys, but I can feel this sense of joy and peace just being back in here, excitement, and it's infectious. It's going to be a fun episode, couple of weird announcements, and then some fun stuff too. So,
yeah, an interesting part for you. I know we're going to get into all the updates later on here, but one thing to kind of make obvious to you guys here is we're not all on campus anymore, and we're not all seeing each other once a day, a couple times a week. It's a bit less that we're seeing one another, so the opportunity to come here and just be with one another, I think, is just refreshing as well. So
nostalgic, some could say.
Yeah,
it sure is nostalgic.
Throwback-ish.
With that being said, we're going to get into a little college football playoff prediction hour here. I'm just kidding, not going to be an hour, but
hopefully not.
Could go an hour.
Here's what I'll say. We typically talk a lot about football in this podcast, but we've been waiting for 2 years on this podcast for a 12-team playoff, and we finally have it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll have a fun Fiesta Bowl here in the Arizona area end of December.
Mm-hmm.
Just more matchups, more opportunity for upsets, and realistically, no team should get gypped this year, although I'm sure it'll be a little bit of drama with that 13, 14, and 12 seed.
Sure.
But the layout will be that the top 4 seeds are the Power 4 conferences.
Weird, by the way.
Champions.
Yeah, Power 4, right?
Yeah, the 4-pack.
After the Pac-12 was destroyed and now being reconstructed.
Which is also weird in different times.
Ever-changing.
Yeah.
The SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and ACC champions will be seeds 1 through 4. They'll have a bye in round 1, and then they'll ultimately host. Actually, they won't host.
Yeah, it'll be the bowls, I guess.
It'll just be in a bowl game.
Yeah.
And then seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 will host 9, 10, 11, and 12. And there will be one group of 5 school.
Guaranteed
In there. Probably going to be like 11 or 12 seed.
Yeah.
Going to a really good 5 or 6 seed in the playoff. But
could they move up from 12, or
if they are ranked higher,
they're allowed to?
Yeah,
Yep.
cool. They could be placed wherever they want. So.
Yep.
But the chances of that happening are
because if they're a conference
slim.
champion and the number 1 overall, then they could be the number. I mean,
and some impressive
which
wins.
will not happen, but
And full transparency on my part, I still really don't understand every detail about this playoff. There's some question marks that I'm going to bring up here with.
Yeah.
If you are a group of 5 but you don't win your conference, could you still be in? Could there be 2 group of 5 teams in there? Because ultimately, if there's 2 12-0 group of 5 teams, can you leave both of them out? I don't know. We'll have to see. But they might give it to the 9-3 SEC team instead of the 12-0 group of 5 team.
Right.
So
we're
all learning something new here.
Yeah.
We really have no idea what we're talking about. Our predictions are always wrong, but thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, I was about to say, historically, the first 2 sets of playoffs we've done, we haven't really hit the nail on the head. So hopefully we can. Maybe adding more teams is going to help us. Maybe it might hurt us. We'll see.
Well, we've got some heat in previous predictions. Quite honestly, I remember TCU and Georgia. One of us picked TCU. Not gonna point fingers or anything, but we got some heat for the lack of dominance we predicted that Georgia would have. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited for 12, and maybe this is our thing. Maybe we just needed a 12 team. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I also remember usually when we have these early predictions, we're all high on Tennessee because they always start off hot. Hopefully they remain hot this year. I am one of those people that hope so, but I'm just kind of recollecting that.
Yeah.
It's usually falling apart at some point right after we record. So,
which, probably will happen at some point to some team. Hopefully not UT though.
Look, I can. Let's not go too far into this.
We'll go deep.
I will be okay. If we lose to a top dog like a Georgia or a Bama, I can accept that. But if we somehow lose a trap game to the Gamecocks
or the Gators,
that was my next team, the Gators in Neyland, or the Razorbacks, like I'm going to, it's not going to be.
Wow.
Not going to be good.
All right, well, let's get predicting because we could do this for hours. Let's look at those first 4 conferences.
Yeah.
And then we can rank them 1 through 4. Do we have potentially an ACC team that we could all agree upon here? Because we are building a playoff together right now, which already had its own struggles, I'm sure.
And seeding, I don't know if we'll get into all that. This is just going to be we'll look back at the end of the year. We can react at the end of the year. How many of the 12 did we get? Something that simple. So
I think it's fair.
I will go ahead and start with the ACC. I would like to propose Miami is in the playoff.
Yeah.
I would like to support that proposal.
Yep.
And I would like to third that proposal.
All right, good.
Led by Cam Ward. I'm a Washington State guy.
Yeah.
Was sad that he left, but also understood because he didn't have a conference anymore. And if Miami's offering however much they offered him, it's a pretty good situation for him, and he's taking advantage of it. They also have Oregon State, similar position, Oregon State, Washington State in the Pac-2. Their running back is now Miami's running back, and they're having a lot of success early. Yeah. We're thinking maybe Florida is not as good as, as usual, so maybe that win's not as impressive, but it was still a dominant win over.
Yeah, I mean, and they're in the complete driver's seat in the ACC. If you look at their schedule, I mean, the only game is Louisville, and is it in Louisville, I believe?
I don't know that one.
That's the only one I'm worried about. But other than that, I'm not worried about Clemson. Florida State has already fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
Shout out Knowles fans.
Wow. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You're throwing darts today, huh?
I am. I'm coming out swinging.
Yeah. Well, I would second that and say the ACC is just not as good as what we were accustomed to. I think that leaves an open door. And I think Miami is going to walk on in that door and lock themselves in.
That's what they do, right? So,
I just think, that's it. The U.
The U.
I think the ACC is pretty weak this year,
Yep.
really. And I, as a West Coast guy myself, I think it's a shame that we lost the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 was really strong last year, and we just got rid of them, and now there's this weak ACC power force. It's just
brutal.
It's different every year, but the ACC's kind of been on this downhill trend as of recent.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I agree. Miami, you said it. Louisville's their only tough road game.
And it is road.
They'll be at Syracuse the last week of the year.
And here's
never
the thing.
easy to play there.
They just got to win the conference. I mean, it doesn't matter. If they have 1 or 2 losses, they get it. They get an opportunity,
That's right.
I mean,
which is why Florida State still has a chance.
Yeah, theoretically, I don't. I mean, well, they're just about eliminated, but I mean,
as long as they get that ACC championship.
Yeah, I mean, if they win out, I mean,
it's a simple route.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you,
it's fun.
Those championship games are going to mean a whole lot more now.
They
already felt pretty big, but sometimes you're like, they don't really matter.
Sure.
As much, but really, you're getting a bye. You're a top 4 seed if you win that game.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be more football than everybody's used to, and to get those buys are going to be huge. And we could see some really interesting schools get some buys. So it'll be fun.
All right.
Cool.
Another thought that's just come to my head really quickly, I think about the MLB playoffs, how these teams that get the buys just aren't ready. They have like a week off, they don't play, and then they get upset by the wild card teams coming through. I wonder if we'll see a team like a Miami or a team like maybe a Georgia that's one of these top 4 seeds that hasn't played in 2 or 3 weeks, that's just not ready for a team that just played a really good game the week before.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, and I'll be rooting for it. All right. We'll save the SEC. Let's go to the Big 12. We're used to saying Texas and Oklahoma,
right.
but we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Any names that are obvious to you?
You want to start us, David?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a big hunch here.
Yeah.
I have Utah written down.
Yeah.
And I just I know they're the highest ranked Big 12 team currently. Cam Rising, if he stays healthy, I feel like is at least a veteran kind of quarterback.
100%.
So I would side with them. I think complete roster. They seem somewhat ready for the moment, and I think they got a good shot at it here. But that's kind of just a shot in the dark. Haven't watched a ton of Big 12, but I thought maybe Arizona would be that team, but I don't think so after Kansas State. So
yeah, didn't look good.
Yeah, the only other teams I would look at are Kansas State and Oklahoma State. I think Utah is definitely the front runner.
Yeah.
And getting into the playoffs, you're going to want to lean on a veteran QB to win you a game. It's not just about getting in, but it's about going a couple rounds in. And I don't think any other Big 12 school is going to be able to win a game other than Utah, really. So, yeah, a playoff spot would be cool, but I think Utah has the best chance to actually make some noise.
And we're playing for a bye here. Don't forget
Crazy.
that. I mean, that's going to be a crazy moment.
Realistically, is going to be a Big 12 team that probably isn't even close to a top 4 team in the country.
Right.
But they're going to have a bye.
Yeah.
Same with the ACC, probably. I like your guys' Utah prediction here. I think the Big 12 is going to be crazy every week.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to go into another Big 12 school and win.
Beat each
it
other
seems
up
like
a
home
little.
field advantage is pretty important in the Big 12 usually.
Especially in that
years
conference,
past.
Yeah.
So I think this might be one of the most even power conferences. I look at Utah's schedule and agree with you guys. They don't have a ranked team that is ranked right now on the road the rest of the year. BYU and Iowa State are the remaining ranked teams, and they're both at home. They play at Colorado or Fraudorado. And,
how about the Hail Mary, though? I know people were watching that.
We're not going to give Colorado time on this podcast. Come on, man. I'm just kidding.
Come on, man.
That was a heck of a football game. But I agree. No, Colorado, they'll be fun to watch until, of course, bowl season, where they probably won't be there.
Wow.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
They're frauds. Frauds.
Wow.
Whoa.
You guys
Anyways,
aren't holding back at all.
You weren't either. So
that's fair.
we're matching the energy
That's
here.
fair.
Yeah.
All right. I agree with Utah though.
Yeah.
Okay. So Miami and Utah, they're going to be a top 4 seed according to us.
Sure.
And the thing is they very well could be the best team, and then they just lose
And the
Big
conference
12
championship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then maybe a Utah goes 12-0 and they lose in the Big 12 championship.
And they get
they
in
lose.
still.
I don't even know if they get in still.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It'd be hard. We'll just have to see who beats each other up and stuff, but I could see them maybe sneaking in there, and that would be crazy to have 2 Big 12 teams.
I think the same things to be said in the ACC too. We have the ACC and Big 12 here. No disrespect to these conferences, and then we have the absolute giants, Big 10,
The future
and SEC,
of-
just dominating. So it's kind of sucks that one of the ACC schools and the Big 12 schools is going to get a bye, but it's okay.
I like it.
It's going to be fun. It's going to make the SEC championship so crucial. I
Yeah.
feel like that's going to add that extra kick,
And you think about bid stealers in the NCAA tournament. It's
Yeah.
only the
Fair.
same thing in these conference tournaments when there's maybe a 9-3 Oklahoma State team that gets into the Big 12 championship. All these teams that are on that bubble that are thinking about getting in the playoff, not including Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's maybe a 15 or to 18.
Yeah.
If they beat a Utah, they steal that spot, and then the Utah still maybe gets in. So
And then somebody's getting gypped, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So it's fun.
So we'll have to see. All right, let's go to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
A new look Big Ten with some West Coast teams coming over. You gotta love the UCLA at Rutgers matchup. About a 7-hour difference there, or 7-hour flight to get there. Besides all of that, we don't need to get into that. Anybody sticking out in the Big Ten?
I want to hear
Yeah, so I think there's a pot of schools here, right? That, look, Ohio State right now, they're on top of it, and it looks like it's their conference to lose. But as we're saying, the conference championship is huge here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like Oregon, and I like Dylan Gabriel a lot. I think he's the best QB in the Big Ten. They have an awesome roster. I feel like they're still meshing and still figuring things out. They haven't had very impressive wins. They haven't looked as good as people expected them to, but it doesn't matter where you start; it's where you finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Oregon's my pick to win it.
I am not high on the Big Ten, like just based on what I've seen. Right now, again, I kind of went chalky, so I do have Ohio State down.
Okay.
I think just for the overall better talent, like both sides of the ball, I think Oregon does have the flash factor.
Yeah.
But I am concerned a little bit about Oregon. I mean, they've had multiple. I can't remember I don't know what exactly their schedule has been so far, but I know Idaho was giving them problems. Like
FCS school, yeah.
I mean,
and then Boise State.
Boise gave them some. Like, I of course want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I actually, if we go on, like I do actually have Oregon in, but not winning the conference.
Sure.
I have Ohio State winning.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna go Oregon.
Okay.
I'm cool with agree that they did not look their best those first 2 games, but they did end up beating their rival Oregon State by 5 touchdowns last week. They actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's just never. That's always a close game.
Mm-hmm.
From my recollection, that game's usually close, despite the records, despite the rankings.
Sure.
And it stinks that they're playing so early in the year, but it's a non-conference game now. So what can I say? And then I look at the schedules a little bit as well. Ohio State's going to play at Oregon here in about three or 4 weeks. I think that helps Oregon a whole lot to be playing there. And then Ohio State will head to Penn State as well. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, though, we could be seeing these 2 teams playing again once in that Big Ten championship on a neutral site.
Yeah.
Probably going to be in Indianapolis, which will be much closer to Buckeye Land.
Yeah.
It might be advantage Ohio State in that game.
Yeah.
So I'm not probably really thinking about it as much as I should be when it comes down to that game, but I do feel confident that Oregon will be in that game, so I'm going to go with Oregon.
Yeah, and truth be told, like Ohio State, I'm not sold on them. Like I don't think they should be ranked as high as they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and even Oregon, you can make the case for too, but that big win, this past weekend is definitely going to do them some wonders, but. Yeah, I mean, Will Howard, not sure really about the fit there for Ohio State. Like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm just not super high on either team currently. And to start the year, I actually had Oregon winning the whole thing.
Yeah,
that was my preseason prediction to win the Natty. I just need to see a little bit more. And I'm not saying it can't happen. I certainly think it will, and like I said, I actually have them in on my sheet just as a wild card or whatever we're going to call it.
I think we can all 3 agree that both those teams are getting in. Just one of them. I think Oregon.
Do you agree on Ohio State? Do you think they
I do.
In?
I think
I think they're both getting in.
I don't think there's a lot of football to play, but right now I would be like, I would expect those 2 teams to be in.
Right.
I want to ask you guys a quick question before we move to the SEC. If we weren't to get that chalky Big Ten championship between Oregon and Ohio State, out of Penn State,
right,
USC, Michigan, and let's throw in Illinois.
Yeah, right.
Which one of those 4 teams could hop into the Big Ten championship?
I'm going to Fighting Illinois. What
Illini?
Is it?
Illini?
Illini?
Illini.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Illini.
Well, obviously, I don't know my Illinois football. That was a joke, of course. Penn State would be the one I'm going for. Out of those 4, I think Michigan is definitely a pretender this year.
I agree.
They lost 18 starters last year, and of course, head coach Harbaugh. I don't think USC has the roster that Ohio State and Oregon and those top dogs. I think Penn State is just the most well-rounded team out of those 4 that you listed.
I agree, and I still don't feel great about them. Like
Sure.
I think I'm bearish on just the Big Ten as a whole, which is strange because of how many big names there are in there. I have a hard time with Penn State because they're always in this spot, right? And now it's a 12 team, so they could very well find their way, but I just don't have the confidence they can get there. I do like the veteran leadership, like Drew Aller. He's been around for a little bit.
Yep.
And I actually do have them written down in the 12, but I don't have them winning, the Big Ten. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, Penn State beat Bowling Green by 7, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I will say Bowling Green.
Yeah,
actually might be kind of nice. I think they've barely lost to. Was it Texas A&M? Who was it?
Yeah, it was Texas A&M.
They back-to-back weeks lost by a single touchdown to
shout out Bowling Green,
big time opponents.
Lost by 6 at A&M, lost by 7 at Penn State. Those are two of the best atmospheres in football.
I mean, hey, maybe that game is not as ugly for those big schools as we're thinking initially.
Yeah,
maybe Bowling
Green wins out here, and we're thinking about them for the group of 5.
Maybe Bowling Green goes bowling, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, anyways, wrap up Penn State. They have one ranked road game the rest of the year, and that's at USC. They host Ohio State, they host Washington, they host Illinois, and they don't play Michigan or Oregon. So I think Penn State's got a pretty good path, honestly, to a Big Ten championship. Where they would just be one game away from locking in a top 4 seed. So there's a lot of football to play there, and I think, again, it's early, but it's gonna be fun in the Big Ten. There's some solid teams there.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the SEC, let's wrap up this 4, and then we'll just list off our favorite 8. So we can move along. Where are we thinking the SEC? I know this is where things get dramatic.
Yeah, lot of players here. It's fun. It's good. This is gonna be awesome. An absolute awesome few weeks coming up. Right now, I'm going to go with what I believe to be the most complete team, and I'm going to say Texas actually wins this conference, which would be tough for some SEC fans to swallow probably in the first year. I think – I've been kind of high on Texas ever since the playoff appearance last year.
Yeah.
I think they have that experience now. They know how to win big games, play in big games. I think – I feel good about Quinn Ewers and that offense, and –
he's injured though right now, isn't he?
I think he's just questionable
for a few weeks. But I mean, Arch is playing great too. So
but I'm expecting Ewers to be back. I think I looked it up earlier. It was questionable for this week. So,
well, the biggest thing is they've got Mississippi State this week, and then they play. They have a bye, and then after that, October 12th and October 19th, you're at Oklahoma, a game that is always close between Texas and Oklahoma.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's Texas hosting Georgia on the 19th.
Huge game, for sure.
Which, as of now, is 1 and 2 in the country.
Yeah.
Well,
Texas.
Well, I guess I'll just start mine off by saying SEC, it just means more. I mean,
it does.
6 of the top 7 teams in the nation right now are the SEC. You're talking overall depth and conference, it's not even close. But SEC just has those dogs. Like Dave was saying, so many players here. As much as this pains me to say it, I'm going to actually go Georgia to win the SEC championship. Look, they've had a couple games these last few years where I feel like it was a defining moment, something to light a fire underneath them. That almost lost to Kentucky a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I think that set them straight. I think it's hard being the top dog, and yes, they didn't win it last year, but they went back-to-back the 2 years before, and they're still a top dog. Every analyst has them up there. So I think having that fuel under them after that Kentucky loss, they're hosting or they're going to Texas soon.
Yeah. They got away with a loss without losing.
Yes, but what I'm saying is I think it set them straight.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to mess around. And
here's what I would argue even just as much. They're not number 1 anymore. Kirby Smart's got some fuel.
Yeah.
Hey, they think Texas is better than you guys. And he has a way of doing that. Even when Georgia is number 1, being like, hey, they don't think you can do it, and it fires the team up. I've seen it, and I think the team will have some reason to play this coming week versus Alabama, which will be awesome.
Just light a fire in them, and I think this weekend's going to be awesome.
It will be.
I'd agree, and I think I'm one of those people that tends to doubt Georgia, and they've proved me wrong a lot. But I just don't trust Carson Beck at all. I look at their schedule. They're at Alabama this week. They're at Texas. They're at Ole Miss. They host Tennessee later on.
Yeah, that was tough.
I think they lose at Alabama this week.
I agree with that.
I just don't trust the quarterback play of Carson Beck. He hasn't shown me anything this year at all, to be honest. I think they have a great system. They have a lot of great athletes. Their defense carries. I think if you find a team that can score against you, they're going to be in trouble. And I think I see 1 or 2 losses on their schedule this year, which is why I'm just not positive they're even going to be in that game. Okay. I think they'll be in the playoff. I just don't know if they're actually going to be in the game. So I can't pick them to be a top 4 seed.
Right.
I'm going to go Texas as well.
Okay.
I think Texas beats them as well in Texas. So we'll go Texas.
Yeah. And then Texas. I think we all got Georgia in the playoff.
Yep.
correct?
100%.
Or no?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
100%. They're in there.
All right, yeah.
So now this is where it gets hard. We have, 7 more Power 4 schools and then one group of 5?
Here's my last proposal, because we have our 4. We have Miami, we have Texas, we have Utah, and we have Oregon. Right?
Yeah.
Let's get 4 teams right out the way, just the next 4. Could we agree on Georgia, right?
Yes.
Agreed.
We agree on Ohio State.
Agreed.
Yes.
We agree.
I would
Is there
like to
anybody
throw
else?
in Alabama. I agree on Bama, or I'm in on Bama, making it.
Yeah. I think you guys know what I want to say. Throw the Vols in there.
I agree on that as well. I will go ahead and.
So we're going 3.
But do you think Alabama gets in?
I think we're going to be high. Yeah, I think Bama's getting in.
Okay.
But I think Tennessee's going to be higher because we're going to beat them when they come to Neyland.
I agree with that.
I do have Tennessee higher on my list as well.
Okay, let's say those are the next 4 teams. We already agree that those are the 2 best conferences. Let's add in Ohio State, and then let's add 3 SEC schools.
teams.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about Ole Miss
We are going to put them on the back burner for
and
now.
maybe Mizzou.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we'll probably come back to the SEC.
We will.
If I had to guess.
Okay, now here's my proposition. So we've got 8 teams now.
Yeah.
4 spots
4
remaining.
spots.
I want to bring up that pass point on a group of 5 team going undefeated, not winning a group of 5 conference. I'm a Washington State fan, and I expect to be shut down here, but they have an opportunity to go 12-0. They are 4-0 right now. They play at Boise State right now, who's ranked 25th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Boise State, I think if they win out, they're going to be the group of 5 team with the 1 loss to Oregon.
I agree.
By 3 points.
Yeah.
But if Boise State loses to Wazoo and then wins out and wins the Mountain West, I still think they might have enough to be that group of 5 team.
Yeah.
But if Washington State beats Boise State this week and both teams win out, can you leave out a 12-0 Wazoo with wins over Washington, Boise State, and probably Oregon State down the road? I know that's weak. I know that's not Texas, Georgia, and Alabama.
Yeah.
Not even close. But just want to throw that out there.
I think if that situation presents itself, you wouldn't leave out Washington State. If they do truly run the table and go undefeated. I know it's not a great schedule.
Yeah.
But there's 12 spots. And
Went
you got
against
an
Texas
undefeated
Tech
team.
as well already.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look,
A weak Big 12
the
team,
resume's not going to be there, but the record will. And look, we got 12 teams in this thing. You know, I don't know if there's an excuse to leave out somebody undefeated like that. But I don't think that's going to happen, I guess would be my, stance there.
It hasn't happened ever.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect it to.
So
either.
that's why I'm going to say from my end, I'm not worried about it, but it'd be interesting if that did happen. What would happen?
Conversation later.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to be a hater here. I think even if it does happen, I just think there's an argument for so many quality teams in the SEC, the Big Ten, and I would even say even if Boise State loses to Wazoo, right? I still think I would rather have Boise State in the playoffs than Wazoo.
All right.
Based on the
cool.
overall schedule.
Well, I challenge you to watch the game this week.
That would be wow. That would be interesting. Yeah. That will be an awesome game, by the way.
It will be cool.
That's gonna have implications in a normal game that would not without a 12-team playoff. So
Right.
this is fun.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the predictor?
Yeah, the predictor's interesting. It confuses me
I am
because
curious.
it says if they go undefeated, they have almost 100% chance to make the playoff.
Really?
So I don't. That's where I'm confused. And if you're watching this and you have a really good idea on how the playoff works, please comment or let us know. Because I don't think they're technically in a group of 5 conference right now. So I don't think they're not going to have a conference championship game.
Yeah.
So this predictor, which is brought to us by ESPN.com, is saying that if they go undefeated, they're in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which I think that is alongside a group of 5 winner. And if we look at this bracket here, it has Washington State as the 5 seed hosting number 12 Tulane. So that's all I'm saying. And do I think they'd be ranked 5? No. I think they'd be ranked 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But
that would
this
be
is a legitimate thing here.
Yeah.
This is not a
I appreciate
ESPN.
you bringing this up.
I think this is just making my head hurt. Really.
Well,
Tulane.
This very well could be the version of the
Tulane
Florida
would be the group
State.
of 5 team.
This could very well be another version of Florida State from the previous year, but with 12 teams now. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, that undefeated, record, it's hard to deny it, but the problem is the strength of schedule is just not there.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? Another nightmare scenario for the committee.
Yeah.
And boy, that could
They'll
be.
do it again.
I want to see him I just want to see the committee put in that position.
Yeah.
And
I'll be pulling for it.
I'll be probably really sad and mad if they don't make it. If they
Yeah.
go 12-0, which they're only a third of the way there with tough road games by their
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah.
They'll do it again.
Yeah.
But I would be at least. They went 12-0.
Yeah.
You can't be too mad
you gotta be thrilled
if
with
the
that.
situation happens.
Yeah.
I actually think, as a Washington State fan, they're going to lose at Boise this week. But
I would.
Boise looks good.
not
say
easy
the
to win
same.
at Boise.
Yeah.
Also, group of 5 teams, UNLV, they look really good right now.
Yep.
What if they win out? Because they're also in the Mountain West with Boise State, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
And
I
that's
think-
just the winners going.
I think the Mountain West is going to have
Yeah.
a lot. The Mountain West is playing Oregon State and Washington State. That Pac-2,
Yeah.
they have a schedule agreement where those two teams are playing.
which will help.
They're playing Mountain West teams, but they're not in the Mountain West, championship.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll help all their schedules.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I guess if we're gonna go into that, who could nick that 12 spot? I like Boise State
Yeah,
to do it.
I agree.
Me too.
That's my
just
my
go with
pick.
I'll be
for
rooting
it.
for them if they beat Washington
Yeah.
State for sure.
I like Boise State.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're
So
cool
there was 3.
Now there are 3 teams left, and we're gonna do it in 3 minutes here, folks.
3 for 3. All right.
Anybody else have? Is there anybody in the Big 12 we want to throw out there?
Kansas State, maybe. I mean, but I really just think it's one team,
Yeah.
and I think that one team's going to be Utah.
Yeah.
ACC.
I'm willing to say Clemson. I think Clemson,
Clemson.
is gonna make the playoff.
They're
So
one loss right now,
Are you predicting them to win out?
Virtually, yeah.
and then
Win out,
lose?
but lose to Miami?
Yep. I think Clemson ends up. I have them down as the 10 seed.
winning out in the regular season and losing to Miami in the ACC championship.
Which,
Okay.
And
you
what
know,
was their one
Their
current
schedule's
loss
not
to?
crazy.
yeah,
Well, they lost by 31 to Georgia.
yeah. Which I am hoping will look, for Clemson's
It's going to be a
sake,
good loss either
that's
way.
going to be, that one's going to be excusable
They did
in a
not play good,
12-team
but-
playoff.
Yeah.
In week 1.
I agree. They surprised me against NC State because I just kind of thought they were frauds after the
Yeah.
Georgia game, but because I obviously don't think highly enough of Georgia. But
Yeah.
Come on, man.
dominated Appalachian State, which is always a trap game, it seems.
Yeah,
Dominated
right.
NC State, and now a pretty easy-looking schedule.
Yeah.
So
So you're
Just goes
advocating
back-
for Clemson.
It just goes back to the weaker ACC. I think that helps them here, and I don't think there's any reason to
at
roll them out.
11-2 Clemson's tough to keep out.
Yeah,
I think I would rather have another ACC school than a Big 12 school. I think just overall, I think the ACC, although they're weak, I don't think they're as weak as the Big 12. What do you guys think about that?
I think if we're trying to get this prediction right, we might need to go Big 12 over ACC. I think the Big 12 is stronger as a whole.
yeah.
You do.
I think they have
I
more
just
ranked
think-
teams right now, and I think it might be more likely that a Utah loses in a Big 12 championship than a Miami loses in an ACC championship, meaning
Mhm.
an undefeated
Another
Miami
team.
would still get in if they lost,
Right.
Yeah, true.
or an undefeated Utah would still get in if they
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is with the Clemson name, like just you see Clemson
The
and,
brand.
and a few, if at most 2 losses, you think they're a top 12 team. Just with the kind of Alabamas of the world, like because of the recent era of football, Clemson just has that edge. Like I think the committee will favor that well.
So you're advocating Clemson. You're
like
Kansas State.
that's on my list, and I'll
Uh,
stick with it. But I'm not,
I'm cool going Clemson.
I think Clemson's going to turn it around, and I think they have a schedule where they certainly can do that.
Yeah, I think it's probably more likely than Kansas State because that goes back to our point earlier about the Big 12 games. Like you never know. Like it's
Yeah.
1 weekend.
It
at a
seems
time.
like every year they're all 9-3.
And
Yeah.
they're going to beat themselves up, and
Yeah.
then the ACC might be
Have
top
2-2.
heavy. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Let's go Clemson.
All right, so then there's 2 teams left. I think personally it's going to end up being one more Big 10 team.
One more
And then
SEC.
one more SEC team, and I think it's between Missouri and Ole Miss for that last SEC team. Unless you
Yeah,
guys
I think
disagree.
it's got to be Ole Miss. I think Brady Cook and the roster on Mizzou's good, but they almost lost to Vanderbilt this past weekend.
Let me go ahead and say Vandy's better than people think.
Vandy is better than what
I'm
people
ready
think.
to say it.
However, but also the same point, Ole Miss hasn't played anyone. They've been playing bags of chips, and they've been beating them like by 50. I think honestly right now it's a little bit of a coin toss, but if I had to choose, I would go Ole Miss.
And I'm going to take Missouri because I was high on them to start the year, and they snuck out of Vandy, which, is good. But look at Missouri's schedule. I believe it's pretty easy is why I kind of like –
Ole Miss is not easy. I think they finish hard.
I believe for the – I say easy. For the SEC, I believe they avoid a lot of the nightmare matchups, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they do. They don't play Georgia. They play at Alabama, but they don't play Tennessee. They don't play Georgia, and they do not play Texas.
Yeah, which helps.
Which might be the three best teams in the SEC. So, yeah. I'm with you.
I'm okay.
They don't play Ole Miss either.
Okay, well.
I think we go the Mizzou Tigers then.
Okay, let's go Mizzou, and I think
cool
Penn State's the final team.
I agree.
And that's wow. We literally my list is exactly the 12 teams we're picking, I believe.
All right.
So, I would have another SEC score in there, but it's fine.
No,
okay.
Wazoo's going to end up being that team over Clemson, and we'll all look back on this fondly. But all right.
Yeah.
This is strange. We're in pretty good agreement here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see how it breaks down, especially in the top conferences.
It's somewhat chalk, what we kind of have, but, I mean, who knows what's chalk this year, because there's going to be some random stuff that goes on, I'm sure, and teams will come, teams will go. We'll see which are pretenders and which are challengers for this title. It'll be fun.
Alrighty, we're going to continue on here and head into a couple updates. Kind of want to talk about what our lives are looking like right now.
That's right.
I want to start with you, Harper. Tell these people what you're up to right now, the different opportunities you have.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Super Bowl has entered the NIL space.
Whoa.
So pretty cool development there. Shout out to the Arizona Dolphins. They're a local club swim team here, and fins up.
Fins for the win.
Out here in Phoenix, they have locations out in Prescott, Anthem, and Verrado. And recently, I got in contact with the head coach, Paul Root, and we struck an NIL deal. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm bringing value anywhere I can. Sometimes that looks like getting in the water, demonstrating technique. Sometimes that looks like coaching on deck. Sometimes that looks like just developing relationships with these athletes. And Paul and I, it's been fun. The things that we're developing and working on with one another is awesome. We got some cool things down the road. Some FCA swim-specific camps. We got some leadership resources and courses that we want to implement on swim teams here in the Valley. Really cool. And one of the favorite things about this whole NIL deal for me is Arizona Dolphins doesn't only push the athlete focus, but also the person outside the sport focus. It's not just grind, you're an athlete. They want to benefit the person in and out of the water. And I love that because I think someone who grew up with sports, I almost idolized it to a point. And I got into that during my testimony. And it's so cool to see Paul encourage these kids to have a life outside the sport and to make their time at the sport fun and enjoyable, but also not the end of the world, So I'm really excited to be with the Arizona Dolphins and continue to move forward and see where they go, see where God takes it. And also we got some pretty cool swag.
I was about to say, you got to look at that. I mean, look at that chrome or whatever that is sweet.
And we'll have Paul on the podcast in a future episode. That'll be cool to hear his story, hear his whole mission and focus at Arizona Dolphins. And David loves the beanie that I have, so he'll be rocking that.
Yeah.
There's a hat for Dorman. Dorman's the hat guy, so we got all the merch we need.
Oh yeah.
Cool. And if you're wondering, well, if Harper struck an NIL deal, that must mean he's still a college athlete. That's true. He's wagering another year here at GCU, still on the swim team. Hopefully you're getting ready to go here. You're excited for that, right?
Yeah. I definitely should have mentioned that, but thanks, Dorman. So I'm super grateful and blessed that the Lord opened an opportunity for me to get my master's program through athletics, and so I'm starting that. Got one more year on the team, my 5th year, and because of the master's program, I've been able to go to seminary, and so that's been super fun. I know having conversations with them, they've already seen how much it's impacted me, and I'm only like 2 months in, and I got 3 years of this, so super cool to see what God's got in store. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here for another year. I feel a little older on campus now. Riding around campus, I'm like, all the people I graduated with are gone, but still blessed to be here. So,
totally.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit kind of my own journey here since we're getting into it. Man, I'm kind of in an in-between space right here. So I graduated school and now pursuing a master's in business analytics, MBA in business analytics. So just started that up and looking for jobs here in the Valley. Just been applying, looking everywhere, and getting some interviews coming up. So it's just, been kind of keeping my eyes open there, and just moved into a house with my roommate of 4 years. Shout out Braden Hansen. He's been around this podcast a little bit.
Right. Throw up a little picture of us graduating together, because not only did we all graduate, but we all graduated the same day, right next to it.
Same ceremony.
That's right.
It was
one of me.
cool day.
I remember that picture of me at quarterback. That was fun. When we did the whole offensive
throw that one up there. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got it.
Well, we're about to find that one. But so that's been good. The housing situation's worked out well. It's just now getting my bearings, getting back out. I spent a good bit of the summer back in Tennessee, so that was nice to have a little bit of time I guess since the last time I'll be home, Tennessee. So it's definitely a little different. Summers are hot out here, and they still are, man. Yeah. It's crazy. I thought it was going to cool down, but apparently still going to be 110. So, yeah.
Here we are.
But, yeah, excited to see what the future has in store. Obviously super thankful for this space and the podcast to be able to share this journey with everybody, and hopefully we'll start making some big boy money soon and kind of be off on my way. So
that's gonna happen soon for sure. Yeah. All right, I guess leaves my story. I'm here as well. I'm working at GCU in their athletic department now.
That's awesome.
I've been able to make a lot of connections through the years here at GCU, and it's pretty cool that they're buying in and investing into me. And I was able to start a job with GCU Athletics just 2 weeks after we graduated. So I've been here all summer. Really blessed and thankful that these two are down here now. The three of us are all still here. We didn't know if that was going to be the case.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the reason why we're going to keep this going. But yeah, I'm loving my job so far. It's been cool to work at GCU and still be able to get poured into and pour into others in our faith walks as well, and being able to leave work in the morning for an hour and go over to chapel here on campus and get a little worship in on a Monday morning right in between work. Man, that's refreshing. That's cool to be able to have that opportunity. So still getting to see a lot of these athletes, man, just seeing past guests that have been on the show around campus is always fun. Meeting new people that I think are going to be really cool, that are going to be sitting in that chair or that chair as future guests as well. And, just continuing to build what we have here is going to be exciting for us. So, yeah, I think the future is bright for the group of us, and it's pretty cool. We're all here together.
Yeah, feels like old times, man. Let's go. A lot's changed, but, hey, still in this room, still going to be preaching the word, having some awesome guests. This has been such a important thing, and I know my life, and I know your guys' life, but it's so cool, kind of like we hit on earlier, about just there's a lot of change, but this we can call a constant for now.
Amen.
And man, that's been such a blessing, and we're excited to see kind of what the future looks like with future athletes on campus. I know we have those connections, and man, it's going to be a lot of fun to see where this goes.
Absolutely.
And to piggyback real quick, I think it's been super cool. Yes, we have this as a constant, but I think throughout all the change since graduation, even our second semester, senior year, there's been a lot that's happened this past year for us in 2024. And man, it's been so cool to have conversations with these two pouring to me pouring to them, and just see what the Lord's doing in all three of our lives. And I think one of the biggest things we've all learned this year is just how to truly let go and surrender all things to the Lord, and like how to continually let go, because there's things in our faith walk where without us even knowing, sometimes we pick it back up, when it's not meant to be in our hands. We're not meant to have that burden. He says his yoke is easy and his burden's light. He means that when he says that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's been cool to see that in both of you guys, and having you in my corner too.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
For sure. No doubt.
We all kind of wanted to touch on a quick theme as we wrap up this episode, kind of a theme that we feel like God's put on our heart as of recent in this last season of our life. I mean, we really have not recorded in 4 or 5 months, and God has not stopped working, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And with this change and everything going on, and now that we feel like we're starting to settle in a little bit here, I was curious, what God's been putting on your guys' heart recently, and because we're all in different spots,
That's right.
It's cool. David, do you have something you want to start with?
Yeah, man, it's been a heck of a ride. Like we talked about, a lot of change in the past year. I think for me, there's been changes even in my own spiritual walk that have been really just different. I've had moments and seasons where I've struggled to connect with the Lord, which has been new, truthfully. There's a lot of times I would just be, reading my word and being excited about reading the word, right? And having that, just
fire.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And just with all the change and all the, I would say, distractions, there has certainly it's been harder to do that, and it's been harder to prioritize time, and obviously not having a day-to-day full schedule yet has been tricky because I'm used to navigating around school and podcasts and whatever else, service hours, etc. Now it's almost like there's so much free time that it's not as free as I would like it to be. You know what I mean? As far as being as productive as I should be. So that's been really a big challenge, and something I'm working through with the Lord, and I know every season looks different, and that's been the cool thing is this is different. I don't have GCU's campus just right here to go talk with even these guys like this, right? It's a very different season of life, and I think just learning that God is constant and faithful throughout no matter what season we're in has been huge. And even when I hear have those reminders on a day-to-day basis or not, I know it in my heart. So I guess just it's been more of a struggle with just faith, right? Like just truly believing, hey, something's going to open up, right? I mean, as far as this in-between period, it's been a little longer than I would have liked.
Yeah.
And, that's been challenging, the patience and the trust there, and knowing what is of the Lord, what isn't. When is he opening and closing doors, right? And, it's definitely been a challenge, something I'm still working through, to be brutally honest,
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that for all it's easy to miss the little blessings, right, throughout all this journey, that we are able to do this, first of all, but to have a house, to be able to have electricity, water, food, like
basics.
This stuff, will always blow my mind of like how we can get so consumed on
the big picture,
the big picture, that we miss the today, right?
Yeah.
Where am I? Where has God placed me? What has he given me? Like, and really, when you put the important things together, man, I'm as rich as any person could be because of what the Lord's done in my heart and what he's doing in the community around me and the people he's given me.
And that's one of the tactics of the enemy, right?
Yeah.
To get you either so consumed in what's coming in the future or worried and regretful of what's happened in the past.
Right.
And you're hitting the nail on the head there. It's like it takes away from the moment. It takes away from your gratitude and thankfulness. And I know through the conversations that you and I have had, that's something that it's like, oh, no, that's not from the Lord. That's from the enemy.
Right. It's, just been a challenge of not only, like, because we know, I feel like a lot of the time the enemy, we can discern if it's him, right?
Sure.
The question is now, it's like, are we going to believe him? Like, and that's a battle, man. Like, you can know that, hey, that isn't the voice of the Lord, but you still can, for example, with just even like fear of trying new things, going out and doing new things, like, the enemy he'll work and you'll know it's him, and yet still struggle with okay, God's got me. Like, really having that reality and that peace of knowing, man, like, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, like, the Lord, he's in my corner. He's in my heart. Like, he's given me a new heart. There's there's change that is happening, in me. And so with just a completely new season, like anything else, when you see a lot of changes throughout a course of a short time, it just kind of ruffles your feathers, throws you off a little bit, right? And so just gaining my bearings and understanding what's first, right? And that's my faith in the Lord, and understanding that, thank the Lord, will not change. Like that, and that ultimately that's what matters. That's it. That's the purpose, right? Is to love God and love others, and thankfully that's never going anywhere.
That's awesome, man.
Let's go.
Good to hear.
You want me to go next?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I'm learning recently and been working through, and very admittedly, I think since the start of my seminary degree, it's very easy for pride and for self-righteousness to creep in. I think Noe, our pastor, we always love to reference him in these episodes. He hit a really good point a few weeks back talking about how spiritual maturity isn't the same thing as biblical knowledge. Just because you know a lot of things about this, I know a lot of things about the faith, doesn't mean you're spiritually mature. Spiritual maturity comes from applying God's word and living it out and letting him dwell in your heart and change you from within. And so as I walk through these seminary courses, I'm learning so cool things, like such amazing things, and I enjoy it. I'm very passionate about it, and it's awesome to be reading these things. But it's easy for my flesh to think that makes me better, that it's easy for me to it's easy for me to exalt myself. It's easy for me to have those trains of thought, and so it's been cool to just see how the Lord and I are working through that. It's a constant battle, Mm-hmm. What the world values is power and influence. What he values is humility. And really just coming to the Lord with humility and weakness, being like, Lord, yes, I may be learning these things, but it's you living in my heart, making them come alive. It's it's your word and spirit changing my heart and changing my life. It's not my doing. And so,
I feel like that's where the devil works, right?
100%.
We can be on this spiritual high, and the devil still has a way to spin it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think we probably see division in churches for reasons like this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we see potential Christians turned away from Christ because there are people that, are on that high, and they look down on others and they judge the broken when we really are 100%. All broken. So yeah, humility is massive, isn't it? I think you're hitting the nail on the head right now. And also I think it's just cool that you have that. You already, that was something obvious to you right off the bat. God made that obvious, and it's not going to be easy, but the fact that you're already working through that is a really cool sign.
Yeah, and I had a mentor as I was walking into seminary. He was telling me, he's like, Harper, remember that, yes, you're going to be learning all these things, and the educational side of it is invaluable. There's a lot of awesome things. He's like, don't forget the most essential thing is your personal relationship with the Lord. That's what makes all this to be of use, right?
Come alive.
To actually come alive and to be able to serve him and his people, right? If I want to be a sharp tool and instrument for God and his kingdom, it's not because I know systematic theology or Greek and Hebrew. That's not what makes me a sharp tool and instrument for his kingdom. It's letting the Lord enable me and empower me from within. And it's just really coming to the Lord. And honestly, I didn't want to come out and express all this on the podcast. Getting it out helps, fight against the enemy. Because if I let this pride and this self-righteousness just sit in here, it's only going to grow, right? But just being honest with my brothers in Christ here, with you viewers out there, people who are in seminary, they struggle with this. And people who are in church staffs and in ministry, vocational ministry, they struggle with this because it's so easy for our brains, our flesh, to associate their positions and their education with righteousness.
Oof.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been learning.
Amen to that, man. That's awesome.
That is really cool. And I think kind of even scripture that talks about that one I love, 2 Corinthians 12:9, where, basically Paul he's got a thorn in his side, is the enemy, or, God has allowed a thorn to be placed in Paul's side. We don't know what that is.
Yes.
But what the Lord says about it is really awesome. Paul's begging him to take it away, right? And the Lord says, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. And so it's almost like the world will say the power, the position is what does it. But in fact, it is the very opposite thing that really brings the power out from the weakness. You know, it's very unique and something I think that we can all wrestle with of, I would say for me, in this current season, I'm more on the subhuman side, the beating myself up, and that's a place too that none of us should be fighting in, or none of us should be living in, right? Because we're more than conquerors in Christ.
No condemnation.
No condemnation, right? So there's both sides of that, but I think it's so interesting how the thing that people desire so much is power, and really it comes from humbling ourselves before the Lord to have the power. You know what I mean? Like It's the opposite. It's this
upside down kingdom.
Yeah, the upside down kingdom. And there's another example of it, of surrender to gain, right? And you'd think you lose everything when you surrender, but you really gain everything when you surrender. So it's like this complete reversal.
Come on, church.
Kind of crazy. I read 2 Corinthians 12 today.
Oh, sweet.
And I also had a piece of the book or of that chapter that I wanted to talk about, but
go for it.
I also just think that verse stood out to me as well, and I think it's so cool that with humility, it can bring, like, humility is not going to necessarily like reap the we're not going to reap the benefits on earth. You know what I mean? When we're humble, like, we're not going to get that fame, we're not going to get that clout, we're not going to get the credit for whatever may be going on in our lives. And I think that's when the persecution can hit us. And it's crazy that Paul tells us in this chapter to delight in our weaknesses and delight in the insults and delight in the persecution. And it is upside down, but really cool that
connected there.
Really cool God thing.
Didn't plan
folks,
that one.
I don't know if you know this, but if we both talk about the same exact chapter, God might be moving here. Just a heads up.
Just a hunch.
God might be doing something.
That's pretty cool.
I was just going to talk really quickly about the beginning of the chapter. It brings this up twice, and I think anytime you see something in Scripture multiple times, you need to stop and say, all right, why is he showing this twice? And there's two sayings it says twice. Paul says, I do not know, but God knows. And I think that was just very...
wow.
Come on.
I like that.
I do not know. God knows.
Yeah.
A couple of sentences later, I do not know. God knows. Maybe apply that to your life today if you can. Whatever is going on in your life, that was kind of going to be my theme that God's really been putting on my heart. I'm in a really good place with this part of my life right now, is that I have a lot of freedom knowing that God knows, ultimately. Whatever I might be thinking about, whatever I may be questioning, whatever I may be scared of in the future, God ultimately knows, and that's all that I need to know.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So I've had a lot of freedom in that, and I was going to go to Ephesians 3:12. In him and through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence.
Yeah.
But then reading through 2 Corinthians 2:12, I thought it almost made it even a little bit better. Just the simplicity of that statement. It's just really cool to know that God knows, God has a plan, and God's going to take care of it because he always has. And he can continually will, and I know he has in my life. I know he has in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we're still in points where David's like, God, where's my job?
Yeah, what's next, right?
I'm over here saying, Lord, quite frankly, I'm excited for a girl to come around. Harper, he might have something else, but it's pretty cool to know that God's got his timing, and it's going to be perfect the way that it comes about. And I'm just excited to see how he continues to write our story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like God knows our story, but he knows us, right? He knows exactly what we need in this moment. And, like, that's the thing that, like, to really sit on and understand, like, he created us. He knows exactly. He's lived, first of all, Christ has lived the life, right? He was 23, 22 at one point, right? He walked this same earth.
Yep.
Obviously it's a different time, but he's he's outside of time, right? He's been around from the beginning, and, like, the thing is he knows you deeply. And, like, that's what I want to convey in this moment. Like, he knows everyone, but he knows you. Like watching this, like, right now, he knows where your heart is. He knows that you're trying. He knows where you failed. He knows where you've succeeded. He knows what you're walking through. And so, like, I guess my encouragement to myself and also to everybody, like, trust him with it. Tell him. He already knows. He already knows what's going on. Like, he knows where your desires of your heart is. Maybe they're not on the things they should be. He knows that. Talk with him. Welcome him in to these areas, because Satan can't work when there's light, right? Like, he's not working in the light. He's working in the dark. Yeah. And so sharing it with community, sharing it with the Lord, these are ways we fight from victory. We're walking in freedom. To know God is to know freedom, right? To have that just peace, knowing that, hey, we're gonna fight battles, but we're fighting from a place we've already won from. Yeah. And so just encouraging everybody to be honest and open with the Lord. He knows your story and he knows your future, but he knows you right now in this moment where you are.
And that freedom comes from just telling him about it.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Getting it off your chest. Just like Harper was saying, just talking about.
That's really the only work he asks, is that we just communicate it with him. We just talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, you have the right heart posture. That's all it takes. And I don't know. I think it's been very obvious in this season of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like you hear these verses about delight in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart, or first seek him, his kingdom, the rest will be added to you. So it's like the point to hit home is first seek him. He already knows everything you need. He knows you better than you know yourself. He knows how to take care of you better than you know how to take care of yourself. All that he asks is that you come into his embrace. Like just fall into his arms. Everything else is going to be taken care of from there.
Yeah. Let's make it simple, man. Let's do that. And we're going to challenge each other to do that.
100%.
And let's challenge you guys. Like, just communicate, communicate, share in the mornings, in the car rides, the little areas that maybe you wouldn't, just 5 minutes, whatever it is, just invite the Lord into your day. That just does so much. And that's something I feel like I've missed over the past little bit, just inviting him into the little moments. Even if I have just going to the gym, right? Invite him in.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Like, he's in control, and he knows exactly where my heart is in that moment. So
totally.
Sorry, I know we're running late here. Just going off that point, it's too good not to add. Like David's just saying, inviting him in the small moments. Invite him in everything.
Yeah.
Like if there's an area that is like a thorn in the side, just like Paul was struggling with, if there's an area that requires a lot of thought and focus for like a big decision, like whatever it is, invite him in. There's healing, there's peace, there's freedom in Jesus' name, and all you got to do is invite him in. And just like David was saying earlier, it's a surrender to gain, not a surrender to lose. It's like he wants to loosen our grip on these areas so that he can take over and bless us. He wants to bless us. All that he asks is that we walk faithfully with him. So,
yeah, we've been talking about this new chapter of our lives and this new chapter of Super Bowl. We have been able to speak to to what it's like to be a college student, growing in our faith, and I think we're still absolutely going to be able to hit on those points. But now we can also speak to the people that are post-college, that their lives may be busier. And for me, my life has gotten even busier somehow. And there are days when it just goes by like that. And, man, that's going to be one thing that I'm challenging myself, and I know these guys are always going to keep me accountable, is doing just that, just each moment making sure that I'm looking over my shoulder and remembering God's right there with me, and allowing me to pour into others in each moment, despite who I run into, despite their circumstances, just understanding that I'm a light, and what a cool opportunity that is.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, guys. That was fun.
We're back.
We're back.
Go. Yeah.
Texas is back. We're back.
Oh, brother. Okay.
And Tennessee's back.
And Super Bowl is back. That's the final thing I want to say. And we're over the hour mark here, so if you're still with us, then you better listen to this right here. We're the Super Bowl podcast, so we're going to challenge the viewers to not only continue to be Super Bowl, but one another. We need to continue to be Super Bold.
Yeah.
We got to continue to live out what we are putting out, right?
Preach.
And,
Absolutely.
Each time a video is seen, they're seeing it's by Super Bowl podcast. What does that mean? Well, we're going to be Super Bold about Christ.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to remember that, continue that, and excited for our community of people and followers and fans and people that have supported us more than anything. We ask that you continue to do that as well. So if you guys don't have anything else.
Good.
I'm going to say one more thing that we're kind of working on in the works. Potentially a group me. Comment below if anybody would be interested in some type of chat where we can get former past guests on the podcast, future guests. Obviously we'll be on there.
Yep.
And just have a community, like a Super Bowl community. We can just talk, have conversation just naturally throughout, prayer requests, plenty of opportunities just to kind of make it whatever it needs to be, but just a space for you guys. We want to get to know our audience a little better, and I think that's just a great way to do that. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe next episode we'll have that ready to go and have some, some past familiar faces, that you guys will have seen and know. It would just be a great opportunity just to connect with you guys and to be able to walk through life with you. So
yeah, we'll have updates of past guests on there. We'll be very transparent, and when God puts stuff on our hearts, we'll throw that in the chat. But more than anything, we want to get to know you. If you're in the area and you're like, I just need somebody to meet up with,
and even if you're not, just anybody.
We can get on a call.
Right.
If you have a question, if you're struggling with this, you need somebody to pray for this.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a cool platform. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. It's going to be coming soon. It's in the works.
Yep.
And just another way we can continue to grow together, the Super Bowl community.
Yes, sir. Like the ring of it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us. A long episode back here.
Yeah.
A long wait, and then we made sure we delivered a long episode to you guys. If you stuck around, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. We're super excited for this next chapter of the podcast. We love you guys.